Welcome back to another episode of German Chocolate Life of a Mixed Girl on this special series called Stunt Talk. I guess we need to do a
Woo!
thumbs up. Woo, woo, woo. We're safe.
Big, big.
Fun fact about this one, whenever this one airs, this is actually the first episode that's being recorded, and it's so interesting. As you can see, I am in my au natural because Anthony, who's on today, I sent all of the messages out to all of the potential people to be on it. And he was like, I got time, let's do it. And I was like, all right, cool. We're not gonna, this energy, we're keeping it. And it speaks so much to who he is, like personality wise,
Yeah.
that we had to do that. So, quick introduction. And I am okay. So, Anthony, and your last name, I'm going to say it more in like maybe a German way, and then you can say how it's probably pronounced. But I feel like the German way sounds maybe a little smoother. So, Anthony Nanakornpanom.
That is pretty much correct. Yeah.
Yay! It helps be multilingual.
Absolutely. Yeah.
How do you say your other name? Because you have another first name, or is it which one's
My,
your first name?
my first name is Banuvat, and then
Ah,
middle name is Anthony. So Banuvat Anthony Nanakornpanom.
that is so beautiful, but definitely complicated. So I
Yeah, it's
totally
tough.
get
I grew up with that. Yeah, it wasn't easy.
it.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't know, that's also the thing in the stunt world. Anthony is a stunt performer with a total of IMDb says 341 credits, of which over 260 are stunt roles. That
God
is
damn.
first of amazing. Yeah.
How old
Yeah.
I am? He says. Really?
This young man. It says 341, and there's a bunch of acting credits. I think over 50 or so acting credits on there too, and then all the other amazing things you do. And you are a Hollywood stuntman and the founder of Battlecat Stunts, which also does firearms training, amidst other things, and like mocap productions, all kinds of stuff. But the firearms training is how you and I had met at Miami Action Design, MAD in Miami,
That's
because you
right.
came down for a class and it was a big group class. It was multiple days. And then I came down this summer to LA and I got to do a private and I got to see your cool area and all of the toys that you have. So, welcome to the
Thank you.
podcast.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here.
You are here. Well,
All
so when I was at your place in our coaching, you were saying, especially for tactical stuff, you liked watching Terminal List. So I
right.
have to say, have you watched Terminal List Dark Wolf
Oh
yet?
yeah, of course.
I had to think of you immediately because when that scene, that beginning one in the first episode started, he goes into the room and then he just like puts everything together, he checks it and all the stuff. I was like, ah, it's like Anthony.
Yeah, yeah. For me, it's always funny though. Like I think I even told you, like some people ask, well, how important is it to be able to take the gun apart and put it back together? Like I personally, on film, they like to show that, like it makes the user on camera seem like they know more about the gun when they take it apart and put it back together. It's like, yeah, if you're a gun owner, you should know how to take your gun apart and put it back together. But does that make you a better shooter? No. You know what I
Very
mean? Does it
right.
make you a better tactician with the gun? No. It just means that you know how to clean the goddamn thing and then put it back together, which is good. Do you need to put it back together blindfolded? No.
Which I mean,
But
it's a cool skill to have. It's like a party trick. Are you able to do that blindfolded?
well, yeah, I could put certain guns back together blindfolded, but others you really need to see what's going on.
Yeah, especially I was sending you the picture when I got my new pistol, and I was like, all right, I took it apart, which always easy when I put it back together. The spring is still so like stiff, and it like definitely takes a little like get that spring in just nice that it still functions. It's really
Absolutely.
important.
Absolutely.
So when you're also looked up on Google, I don't know when's the last time you've been Googled. It's really interesting because you have two things that I found very interesting on there. One was a fandom page of
Okay.
you, all of the things you've done, of which somebody wrote, whoever made this fandom page, that you are also known for helicopter performances. And I have no idea, is that true, not true, or what does that even mean if it is true?
Um, I have performed in helicopters, yes. Uh, but maybe I don't know. I am a helicopter pilot. So I'm a commercial helicopter pilot, commercially rated helicopter pilot, but I do not fly helicopters on camera myself. I have performed in them on camera, yes.
I guess
Several.
so. That's a noteworthy skill then too to be the in there because you know like in Fall Guy how the guy just drops out just
Yeah, yeah. I love helicopters. Is way before I got into the industry. I mean, I was a helicopter lover since I was a little kid. I think it was the TV show Airwolf that got me into helicopters, and I would draw them, blah blah blah. And then my mom thought I was crazy when I wanted to take flight classes and helicopter class. She's like, "What the hell are you doing, wasting your time doing that?" You know. But I never shied away from that. I always, it drove me more to like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna be successful in whatever you tell me that I'm not gonna do right. You know what I mean?
I
It's
think a
like,
lot of us can relate. I can
yeah, yeah,
relate.
yeah, for sure. Well, some people get caught up in, they get all like they take it as an attack and they take it as I don't know, abuse, and they're like, oh well, somebody told me that I can't do this, so I guess I cannot, and they get down on themselves and want pity, and it's like, ah,
That's actually so interesting because there's been probably multiple episodes when I talk about certain mindsets or other things. And I think it's a very American thing I have learned that people, when they're like, because I'm Black, because I'm a woman, because I'm this or that, or I've never seen anyone like me do it, I'll be the first. I don't care if anybody's done it. I don't care. Like I used to, the one misconception why also I'm in this later is I used to think because I grew up in Germany, like, oh, entertainment industry in America, that seems like not attainable. So when I moved to the States, I was like, I didn't even think about that when I was young that that was an option. But then as I got older, I'm like an opportunist. Like somebody's like, want to try this? I was like, I'll try it. How about this? I've never done it, but I can learn it. And that's basically been my life. So then I was like, you know what? I've already done everything. Might as well try this. And here we
yeah,
are. So totally go for
absolutely.
it. So another page that I found was on the Walking Dead fandom page. It said
Ah,
multiple things. What did you do on The Walking Dead or fear of
I
The Walking Dead?
I worked, yeah, I don't remember. I've worked several Walking Dead series and episodes. I played a zombie at one point, and that was fun yet difficult because over the years, I'm not a fan of certain makeup. And with the zombie, you have to wear contacts, which is challenging. Is it fun? Not necessarily, but it's challenging to do the job. Other times I played myself as a guy, maybe getting chased by zombies and killing zombies, and just did several action scenes. I did one episode on horses and one episode, as a gang in a car. And the other episode is, if I remember correctly, I was scuba diving, doubling Cliff Curtis. Um, and then another episode playing a zombie. So I've done, yeah, a few.
That's pretty cool. Is that all with the same stunt coordinator, or did multiple different people kind
If
of
I
coordinate that?
remember, different coordinators, but for the latter part, the coordinator was the same stunt coordinator. Yeah. Mhm.
Pretty cool. So I have a, even though we've broken the ice already, a question, very totally random. I'm sure you still have it. I don't know part of your career, but what's currently in your stunt bag?
My current stunt bag. Okay, first of all, I have several. Okay. And the reason is, well, let me answer your question first. I have maybe two back pads. I have knee pads that are my favorite knee pads. And they're the ones from Action Factory, the soft gels, because I can wear those all day and they offer excellent protection. Um, they are heavy though. They make my bag very heavy. And then I have a set of like hard knee pads. So knee pads that I can hide under clothing easily, which are the usually the Action Factory ones. And then sometimes knee pads that are hard shell when I gotta hit rocks or something. And I'll even modify my own knee pads. I'm not afraid to say it. I got a sewing machine. I'll cut that bitch open, put pads in there, and then be happy on my way. You know what I mean? Because there's knee pads. There's another popular set of knee pads that people use. I forget the brand, but to me, they're crap. They're crap, and they just don't have enough padding on the inside. So I cut them open, put pads inside. Anyways, I have a set of elbows, same, like two different, hard, soft and hards. Um, I have, I do wear a padded girdle sometimes. Most of the time, I have two sets. I have a heavy duty one for heavy work, and then a very light one that you can wear all the time. But if it's light work nowadays, I just prefer to like slip in certain like flat pads that I can slide into my hip and then take them out when I'm not in costume or when I'm not actually doing the stunt, you know. So I like to keep it adjustable so I don't have to sit there and wear the pads all day long.
Yeah.
Because I've done that. You can be on set and wear pads all day and just be ready, which for the coordinator, that's great. They want you to be ready. If I'm a coordinator doing something, I want my people to be ready and not be like, oh, wait, let me pad up, because that's to be a professional, you got to be ready at moment's notice.
And
You
it
should not.
takes a long time, especially if there are issues then with the costume when you pad up and it doesn't end up working out.
Well, that depends. Yeah, you have to make sure you tell the costume people that, yo, you need a pad here and you need room here. On occasion, the costume doesn't allow, and you sometimes cannot fit a pad, and you got to deal with it. You know what I mean? Um, Male or female, it's the same. You'll hear women all the time. Oh, well, women don't get to wear pads. Yeah, that's their claim to fame. Like I love women, okay, but yes, honestly, they don't always get to wear pads because of the stuff, but there's times when I've done plenty of gags with no pads. I mean, flat backs to the concrete, no pads. All right, hitting my elbows on the ground, same thing. We all get beat up. You know what I mean? So it's more about the toughness of mind.
That's very true. Of like even during training, getting used to getting certain bruises, and I've noticed the actual like moment when you kind of get hurt and you have bruises isn't like too bad. It comes like a little later. It's more that
Yeah,
fear
yeah.
once you get it out of the way. It's not so bad. But the concrete is still something like when you get pulled back to worry, that
It's
whiplash to not like actually hit your
yeah.
head. That still
Well,
scares me.
it takes training. It takes training. You got to teach your body to how to absorb the impact and train your body because your subconscious doesn't like it initially, right? So you have to train your subconscious to like get used to it and say, okay, you're going to be fine, and then how to take the hits and whatnot. But sorry, to finish answering your question, I also have a lot of other little gadgets in my stunt bag that help make the job easy. Sometimes I carry a radio earpiece when I have to connect to people, and talk on the radio because we don't always have the earpieces. I carry like moleskin so that I can put it on a certain spot or something if I need to protect a certain spot that can't have a big pad.
That's
Uh,
smart.
I used to carry my own stunt boots. Don't really do that anymore. It weighs my bag down. A lot of times they give us shoes, but I every now and then I will use my own stunt boots. Um, what else?
Do you have a vest?
Yeah, I do. But I usually, if I'm on the job, I don't always have the vest on me. It might be in the car, like if I actually need it. Because most of the time I know whether I'm gonna need a vest or not. But if I literally do, every now and then I'll go to a job where like you just have to be ready for anything. And so I'll have multiple bags on set, whether it's fire stuff, whether it's vests for flying work, or just my typical stunt bag, right? So I have all that. I'll carry it on set if I need to. And that's the way the pros do. Otherwise, some jobs, I'll just keep some of that gear in the car. It'll be near me, but I won't be carrying it because most likely I won't be using it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
that's actually smart. Oh, yeah, because I was thinking because I usually take stuff out and then it's also just in the car. But yeah, if I knew this is for the different things, that just have the separate bags. That's actually pretty smart. It's a good tip.
yeah. And then I have a small one. Like I have a big stunt bag that, has all my gear, my main pads and gear. And then I have a little mobile one, a small one that will just take like, okay, little pads here and there, and I can rock and roll with it. They're all also, listen, my stunt pads bags are not bright colored, so I can freaking identify them. 'Cause sometimes I've had to carry my bag and stash it in the forest so they don't see it. So black, camouflage, green, dark green, something muted helps.
Huh.
But
Another good pro tip.
that's yeah, that's personal choice. I mean, I know plenty of pros, buddies of mine who they got bright yellow freaking bags. I'm like, hey, is to each his own, you know. But I
Then you just
prefer
need one of those camo throws, like the light ones that they have in the military, the like green camo. Throw it.
go. There you go. That's an option too. You can always carry one of those. I carry my stunt bag was so heavy that I got annoyed with it because I carried a lot of stuff to be prepared. You know what I mean? Like I even carry like I don't like wearing hats, so I'll carry a foldable what do you call it, bucket hat in case I do end up in the sun, and I can just throw it on. So oh, thank God I had it. You know, I carry a pair of sunglasses in my stunt bag. I carry a pair of Bluetooth uh, earphones in my stunt bag because sometimes you're sitting on set for 2 hours, 3 hours doing nothing. And you're like, man, I wish I had brought my book. I wish I had brought music or something, you know?
Yeah,
So I
same
keep,
for like on actors' bags, the same. Yeah, with like headphones, a book, something to write, a little like emergency kind of kit with all kinds of tiny little things.
yeah. And then in my cars, I keep small go bags of stunt gear, like literally just knees and elbows and maybe some slide in hip pads because I have been on a call in the past where I was out and about and I got a call. It only happened like once or twice. Like, can you go to set ASAP? And I didn't have any gear with me, and I was like, man, I wish I had something in the car. And on another occasion, I went to work literally off an airplane. Didn't have my gear because I was coming from out of the country, and then I had a buddy of mine drop off my stunt bag. Well, guess what? He dropped off the wrong bag
Oh,
with the gear in it, and I didn't have pads for that day. So I'm like, man, you know, uh, so I just carry stuff to try to always be prepared, you know. A little bag in the car that's non-invasive in the car, and just I leave it there, you know.
yeah, that's really nice. So, what was your origin story then? How so 340 credits ago, not 41. What was your origin? So you have all this background, like you get that license and all the things you do in the firearms, but like how this and why this?
So I've always wanted to work in the film industry since I was little. I grew up in martial arts, and let me make a long story short. Let's see if I can do this quickly. Um, I grew up a young ethnic minority kid in a very white dominated town. Okay. Very small town of 7,000 people. I grew up with a lot of racism. The racism led to me wanting to protect myself and my younger brothers, right? And so all that negativity, and I was like, I needed to learn how to defend myself. I love watching movies and TV with my family, and I would see back in the day, I'm the same age as Ernie Reyes Jr., right? And back in the day, Ernie Reyes Jr. had a TV show called Sidekicks, right? And he was roughly, I don't even know at that age, maybe 12, maybe 10, I don't know. He was like, we were really young. And I saw him on TV like just kicking ass. Gah, 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 gah. I was like, damn, he's so good. I want to be able to do that, you know. And I noticed like, wow, he looks Asian. And I'm like, I'm kind of like Asian. We had the same haircut, you know. And I look at my dad, my dad's Asian. I wonder if he knows this. I didn't know what to call it. I just called it karate, you know.
Mm.
I wonder if my dad knows this karate stuff. And so I asked my dad, and he's like, yeah, I know Muay Thai because my dad's from Thailand. So my dad started, I was like, can you teach me? And he started training me in Muay Thai when I was really like 10 years old.
Oh,
Bag. So we bought a heavy bag and he started training me how to kick the bag, punch the bag and kick, push kick, round kick, elbow, all that. And my dad started teaching me the ways of Muay Thai. Um, and my parents were really gung ho about it. They really wanted me to learn more. And then I said, "So who's the best karate guy on the planet?" And they're like, and look, I remember them looking at each other. They said, "Bruce Lee." I was like, "Oh, geez, okay, I don't know who that is." And then they showed me Enter the Dragon.
oh,
I was
okay.
like, "Oh, this is awesome," you know. And then went down a rabbit hole. Right? We saw movies like I can't remember the age I was, but I was watching movies like Bloodsport, best of the best, all these martial arts films growing up. And I was like, oh, I just want to do. And so I started martial arts. My mom let me do Tang Sudo around age 12. I was really young, 12 or 13, something like that. And and I stuck with it. I was there twice a week, 3 times a week, training, training, training. I did that and I played soccer, right? And I got my martial arts experience. I got my black belt when I was 18 and started training in other martial arts systems. Meanwhile, when I turned 15, I was into like firearms I went hunting with my dad, and I got really into firearms. But I learned at a young age that because of all the racism that I grew up with and just the type of defense I needed, everyone carried guns where I lived. I was like, I need to get good with guns because that's the ultimate tool of self-defense if I want to protect myself, and my family. Um, the racism got worse when I got older,
Mm.
and the fights and whatnot, and the pestering and all that. But all in all, by the time I was in high school, I was very deep into the martial arts and decided I wanted to be a professional bodyguard. I wanted to really, my true dream was to work in film, but I didn't have any clue how to get into film,
Of
right?
course, yeah. No
Yeah,
internet, no nothing.
so I'm like, I'm gonna do a real job, right? So I was like, I'm gonna become a professional bodyguard. I turned 20 years old, moved to Los Angeles. I was originally from here, so I had family here. We came back every year. So I felt like LA was always in my blood. I love the sunshine, palm trees, and I felt like LA had everything I needed. So I moved back to LA and immediately started going to bodyguard school.
Oh, that's
Uh,
a thing?
yeah, I went to bodyguard school. It was a private bodyguard school here in LA that turned into, I ended up doing a lot of private security. I through that I got better at my firearms skills. I became a firearms instructor, learned all kinds of cool stuff. Um, and then I became a bouncer at a nightclub. And as I met a guy named Dave Tadman. I love you, Dave. He's out there. Dave just did an article on me, by the way, for an online magazine, which I'll have to send you the link later.
Oh, yes, send it. I'll put it in the notes.
I think it'll come out tomorrow, actually. Um, anyways, Dave at one point looks at me and goes, "Hey, I know you still do bodyguard work. Do you want to bodyguard Sammo Hung?" Right? And if these people don't know who Sammo Hung is, well, he's a very famous, well-known Chinese action movie star that came up a little bit before Jackie Chan, right?
Hmm.
And he did a TV show in the States also called Martial Law. Anyways, I was like,
Oh,
hey,
yeah, I know that one. Okay.
yeah, so I went and I did his private security for his screening, right? And I met Samo and I met part of his stunt team that he had brought out on a film. Those guys invited me to come train with them. Uh,
That's awesome.
yeah, at CBS Radford, right? And I was like, oh, this is cool. I get to meet some stunt people and a team and train with them. And Dave hooked it all up, and I went in there and trained with them. I fell in love with it. I fell in love with it, and they liked me, and they said, "Hey, do you want to be part of the group and practice with us?" I said, "Hell yeah." And then by this point in time, I was working for the government with the TSA,
Huh.
um, and and then I quit that job, and then I eventually became a stunt performer at the Batman Begins stunt show at Magic Mountain.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Believe it or not, I was Batman, one of the Batmans. Yeah,
Wow.
that's a whole
Well, you
other
got the
story.
height. You're pretty tall.
Yeah, that's what it was, the height. But that's what it. Yeah, that's a whole nother story. It's funny. But anyway, overall, it took me about 5 years to become a full-time stuntman from the inception of the idea to becoming a full-time working stuntman, and building myself and my career to get to that point, right? And becoming SAG and all that. So it was not an easy road. It was difficult. That was back in the day when like YouTube was just coming out, you know.
I was just
And
gonna say, because you got some things that might have been better and other things are not. Like, so for me, I started with voice acting, and it's just like with everything now, with self tapes also for on camera acting, and then with stunts, everything that's online. But then you also have a lot of people are like, it's so easy to do all this. You just get an actor's access profile, and then everyone's swamped. Or here's a list of agents you can send. So everybody just gets so swamped. So you kind of get lost in the mix, and now you have to try to stand out. So that makes that hard, but it's also easier to make connections on the other hand,
It is.
with that. So it's double edged in the sense.
I think too, though, because I did come from a smaller town where there was a little bit of that, hey, acting schools and this and that. And, I got involved with people that I don't want to sound rude, but they were all wannabes. They wanted to be in the industry, but didn't have direct connections. So they were doing small time jobs back there, and you can get clouded in that world and stuck in that world and never actually have a real career in the industry,
Yeah.
and so it's difficult, especially when you come from areas where the business is not primary industry, because almost every town's going to have like some sort of acting class and casting director, and then everybody gets like this little group and tries to lift each other up, but yet you're not going anywhere because you don't have the actual resources to get somewhere.
Oh, I could totally feel it for a lot of people. Like sometimes, like when I first started any day in entertainment, you're like, wow, this person's been doing it for a while. They're doing some stuff. I get started and I get ahead, and then I'm like, oh, these people are still there. But a lot of people do enjoy that small town fame in a sense. Even people don't know them, but they feel comfortable around
Yeah.
where they are. They get their opportunities. They don't care if they get paid for it. They just like doing it. Where I'm like, nah, like all the way or nothing. So I know when I joined the union, a lot of people would probably say they would have waited longer to get more all this other stuff. But I said, I'm cool. I can wait for the bigger things. I don't have to have a bunch of all the small stuff and then here and all that going on. And I'm training and working. I have some stuff under my belt and I'm ready. And it could be either way, but it gives me that push that, especially when things are slow, my creative mind, like now, I'm like, all right, cool. What am I going to do? I'm going to do the series right now and I'm going to connect with more people and I'm going to fly out there and do all this stuff investing. I don't want to say maxing my credit cards to do this stuff from out of the market, but investing in myself because I do see it and I see how people find joy in that, but that's not for me either. I'm like, no, I got to go hard and go all the way for
And,
myself.
and you just said something that is extremely important, and that's investing in yourself. You said you max your credit cards. I don't know. I did that years ago because I felt that was the right thing to do. When I was first, even before I even thought about the industry, I honestly I had maxed out my credit cards because I got training, training, training because I wanted to be the best, right? I did not want to compete with people. I wanted to dominate people, so I wanted to have so much a higher level of training where I was the only choice
That's the
versus
best way. I don't like blinders in that either. If I look too much and see how many people look like me or are like me, people get caught up, but you're just one small picture in a bunch. I don't look at any of that either. I'm like competing with myself, trying to
yeah.
be that way and always trying to figure out where can I fit in to be that
Yeah.
person for myself. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I put myself in major credit card debt, but I think eventually it paid off. I can't say that every skill that I was learning, paid me, but most of them have. Most of the skills I've learned one way or another have given me income, and have if they haven't given me direct income, I always believe that when you learn multiple things, you can bring all the ideas together to formulate a plan and solve problems, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So when you when
100%.
you when you don't know, you don't. It's funny because you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yep.
When you think you freaking know. Like I tell some friends, like, look, you guys, you just practice one thing. You practice driving a car, and that's it. You don't do motorcycles, you don't do helicopters, you don't do what else? Boats, you don't do other stuff. And so in your world, you think you know. But then when you learn how to operate different pieces of equipment, it adds so much value to your knowledge and your skill set. And you can formulate ideas and opinions to solve more problems, right? And actually handle situations. And so, but again, I told a friend one time, I was like, but you know what? You're hearing me talk and say this, but it's going in one ear and out the other because you just don't know. You won't understand until you actually do it.
100%. Also, being a person that's a go-getter and you do it. I mean, I'm also impulsive, but like I'm older now too, so not every single impulsive thought I'm gonna do, but I do go out and yeah, like you said, sometimes it might not be that skill, but maybe some connection I've made there, or also one of I was on the set, and then Mark Fisher in New York was the stunt coordinator, and they were doing some
Oh,
driving, but it
Mark.
wasn't.
Mark's dope. Love Mark. He's great. Haven't seen him in years. What's up, Mark?
And I was like just a rookie still training, like stunt performer non-union. I was like, hey, you're the stunt coordinator. And it was so funny. But they were literally all they were doing was just driving up a hill slowly. And then just for like an hour, that's where all they had to do nothing. And I was like, that's something you can do. So I went to Bobby Orr's by us here in Florida. And I was like, all right, this is a super expensive course. I'm just going to do it, see what happens. Obviously, you need to train lots and lots afterwards. But the guy that I train with at the stunt gym that I go to, he's also a stunt coordinator. He had a job come up just like, I think 5 months later. He's like, I need some drivers. I know you just took a course. And I was like, oh my God, nothing crazy. But it ended up paying half of the course that I did. And I got to race a car down a closed off highway chasing another car. And I was like, oh, so I didn't exactly what I wanted to do. Maybe I'm not great at precision yet, but I got
Yeah.
to do that. And just because somebody knew I did that was here. And then there's, I mean, in my mind, so many of those things happen. I just started taking a OSHA course because I was like, you know
Oh,
what, it's slow. Maybe I can do safety. This will be cool. So I put a whole list of safety stuff. And then I saw on Stunt Contact somebody for like a show. One of the things was also stunt safety. I was like, hey, I actually just started taking this course and this guy gets back and we just go back and forth. I was like, just my tool belt. I'm not an expert in many of the things at all, but my tool belt has the knowledge to you tell me something and I can figure the rest out because I done the basics.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that. I love learning. So I'm always somebody does something. I'm like, so flying would have been, oh man, like I love helicopters too. Like when I was in the army and I was in Iraq and we are going on R&R, they were rotating different helicopters to pick people up to go to the main base. And
Yeah.
when I got to go on the Black Hawk, and I was so excited. I was like, "It's the Black Hawk!" And I was just like, "I know we're flying and like over this area, and the gunners are just like maybe something happens." But I just was like, "I'm in the Black Hawk," but it's
Mhm.
so expensive. So that's on my when I have 200 credits list of things I'm gonna afford.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not cheap. Absolutely.
It's not cheap.
In fact, I'm supposed to go fly tomorrow or Friday. Yeah, I haven't flown in a minute, but it's something I gotta keep training. I have so many skills that I got trained in that I want to maintain, but it's a full-time job maintaining those skills, you know. And honestly, I don't get to practice them all the time, but if I did, it would be a full-time job like every day, you know. So
It
I try to
is.
make it myself.
So when you fly the helicopters, is it when people rent their airplanes, they usually fly to like another city and then spend the day. But how's it with the helicopter? So you kind of just take like a tour around LA and then go back.
Yeah, we do training scenarios at different places. So because in here in Los Angeles, we actually have a lot of airports, small airports, you know, and so we train and it's some of the busiest airspace in the world. So you get a lot of good practice on the radios and air traffic and whatnot, and flying around and navigating a busy city like Los Angeles in the aircraft. And it's not easy. Flying helicopters is one of the most difficult things I've ever done, you know, and getting my licenses. And it's still, even though I've been doing it for 20 years, you know, I'm not a high time pilot. You know, it's not like I fly every freaking week or every day. I don't have a lot of hours and thousands of hours like some guys do, but I've been doing it for years, and it's something that part of me has lost interest in just because it's so difficult. It's not easy to just say, hey, like you go hop on a motorcycle and go, but a helicopter is just not, it's not the same. You got to book it. You got to see if you can afford it. You got to, prep for it. You got to like tonight, I'm probably going to prep, I got to go over the airspace and my verbiage because it's been a while and the frequencies I have to dial in. So it's homework, it's work.
Do you have to
It's not
renew it then if you don't fly so and so often within a certain time? Is there like a rule?
No, well, yeah, sort of. There's renewal, but like the license does not expire, but the license stays. You can say there's a currency level that's you go by your logbook, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
if you haven't flown in like a year, then you got to have a certain amount of flights with an instructor and landings and takeoffs in order to take passengers,
Yeah,
right?
that makes sense. Yeah.
Plus, you have to have a medical exam and make sure that all your medical is legit and your medical is clean and good to go. And it all depends on your age as well, how long it lasts. And so, as long as all that is good, you can fly. I can fly on my own anytime, but carrying passengers, there's like rules to that.
I can see how that's scary. I also don't ride a motorcycle. I know when what was it, Dark Angel, I think with Jessica Alba came out back in the day, I was like, oh, that's so cool. I want one of those Kawasaki Ninjas. And like they changed the style of it. I still like that old school style, the way that just looks like a wasp, like kind of up front. And then I was sitting on some, but they're so heavy. And then time went by. And then when I had my son, was like, those days are over now. Can't ride a
Well,
motorcycle.
I'll be honest, motorcycles, listen, they're like firearms. They're you can buy it, easy to operate. Motorcycle, once you learn it, it's easy to operate. But people stop there. They don't get any more training, and then they think they know, and that's how people end up in accidents on motorcycles, firearms accidents, because they think they know. They don't get any more training because they think the level of training, because let's just say it's easy to operate, and they think, oh, that's all I need. I got friends that ride motorcycles for years, and they just continue riding dirt, whatever, but they don't do classes, and I'm like, and I'm not trying to be like a show off or anything, but I'm all about learning more and being safe at something that's
Yeah.
dangerous. So, I'm like, I went and I took like 5 different motorcycle classes, right? I read probably 6 different motorcycling books, and it just opened up my eyes and my world. And I'm like, wow, and then so it enabled me to see what my friends are doing wrong, although I don't tell them, they're adults. But I did, I'm like, I wish they would,
In
go.
general, like I'm from Germany, so my driver's license is from Germany. It's one of the very few in the world when you come to the US, you don't have to take a driver's test because it's so superior to everywhere else. So, first of all, you learn how to drive a stick shift.
Yeah.
Automatic is just like a PowerPoint presentation. All right, just don't forget to step on the brake when you go into drive, pretty much. And you immediately have to do city, country drive. You have to ride on the Autobahn, then you have to drive at night during rain, during snow, and there's like so many mandatory hours and all the safety things you got to do. And when you go for your driver's test, they look for the smallest things to fail you. Like I know people had to take it multiple times. In Germany, they don't save for college; they save for their driver's test because it's just so expensive. Because it's for safety. So you go in. My budget was all right. I can only take this amount of classes, and then I have to pass it. So I knew I just had to pass it. But we even do that for kids with bicycles. Like when you're in elementary school, I think when you or right into middle school, 11, 12, you go to this course. It looks like Gorilla City, and you get a bicycle license so you can safely drive on the road. And with motorcycles, they even have restrictions how fast I think you can go in your first year. Second, there's like limitations to make sure you're safe. So
Oh,
every
yeah.
time here, I'm like, this is so dangerous.
Yeah, it's good and bad. It's good and bad. We have so much freedom in the States, but yet it can be dangerous, and no, I totally understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We now have open carry in Florida, and I was like, can we at least make people take a safety class, you know, just like a safety class.
There's a lot of people that won't do it. Like I said, people think they know, and then they get hurt, and
Yeah.
then when they get hurt, they blame the other person for the most part. They don't realize that they had a play in it as well.
Yep. Yep. Safety always hurts. Speaking of safety, if you had some sort of injury or prevention tip, something that might have happened to you or somebody else where you're like, I now always make sure I have or do this to prevent something from happening. Is there something that you'd say you didn't know before that you now do look out for?
Not, no, not necessarily like something specific, but I think over time, just being a physical person, martial arts and blah, 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 all that stuff, you learn how to like stretch and take care of your body, and so you can get up and do it again. Number one, I love lifting weights, but I don't lift extremely heavy to where I'm going to tear my muscles and hurt my joints because I want to be able to be mobile for work.
Mhm.
I try to stretch as often as possible. I stretch my lower back twisting, my legs for kicking. I want to be mobile, but I also maintain back strength. So because we do a lot of sitting, right? Especially as adults, cars, whatever. I focus on strengthening my butt muscles, especially, right? I don't have a nice round booty like some guys and some girls, right? But I try to keep my lower back, my glute muscles strong because that will help keep me mobile into the future as well as for work, right? So I strengthen those muscles, but also try to keep them flexible. Um, um, I try to watch what I eat. I don't drink alcohol. I don't smoke. Uh, Before I do a job, before most jobs, any sort of stunt, I try to do a little warm up of my muscles and my body to get the fluids going before I have to do any sort of hard hit or
Yeah, very
whatever.
martial artist. Yeah, doing all the
Yeah.
like little thingies and the like.
Right. But also as I'm getting older, I try to pick up and do things that I used to do when I was younger. And a good example of that is jumping up onto something and then jumping off and hitting a hard surface like concrete or the ground, right? Because as you get older, if you're not doing that, your body can't take it anymore.
You're like, oh my knees.
Yeah, your knees or something in the groin area is like, oh, I just landed and what's going on? Yeah, and so I started doing more jumping up and down off stuff, and the impact is some people will probably contradict what I'm saying, but I think it's actually great for the bones. It keeps the bones active and strong, and I'm not talking falling off of like 10 feet. I'm talking just, jumping off of a nice high box,
Yeah.
to a harder surface, like something that mimics concrete or the grass. Um, because, that's what we do in work, and I notice because I practice that, it enables me to jump over objects and still be agile and mobile to where I'm not like an old man trying to get over a wall or something.
Well, but speaking of that, I feel like old man, you're taking care of your body, you're working and also training and doing all this stuff for other people. But do you still do the same type of stunt work that you've always done, or are there certain things that you're now like, all right, I've done a lot of that, I don't need to do that anymore?
No, I still do the same jobs, although I don't know if the other people calling me see me in that same light. Sometimes they do. I actually just got called 2 days ago to do a car hit.
Oh, I want to do a car hit so bad. It's on
And I
my list of things.
and they said, "Will you do it?" I said, "Yeah, I'll do it. Let's go." So yeah, I'm gonna maybe do a car hit soon. It just depends.
You gotta send me a selfie. Look at that.
Yeah, but listen, car hits can be dangerous. It's something you gotta freaking understand. You gotta understand, the danger behind it. But yeah, I try to stay mobile. Today my training regimen includes the more mobility stuff, as well as um, eye-hand coordination and reaction time, right? I love doing the exercises that like the F1 drivers do with the tennis ball, try to grab the tennis ball. That's a
Uh,
great reaction time drill that I try to practice if I have a partner. Another one that, you wouldn't think helps much is juggling. So I juggle, I'll maybe get myself tired doing some sort of, I don't know, box jumps, and then I'll juggle while I'm tired, and I do different variations. Well, not many, but try to keep the juggle small or bigger, right? Then I try to like juggle on one leg, and that throws everything off because your mind is focused on balancing, but then you got to focus on the juggle at the same time. So
there's so much stimulation going on.
yeah, but that's what stunts is. You know what I mean? Sometimes that's what the industry is, and that's what you have to keep your mind sharp on that, as well as the skills. So yeah, I still practice my martial arts skills, not as much as I should, but I do. You know, um,
I think that's really good to know because if you think, first of all, yeah, it takes a while to get where you want to, especially in a world where we feel like everything needs to happen tomorrow or today, same day delivery, check. But also that you're not like, all right, everybody knows me, I can do the job. You're just sitting back and just waiting for a call. You're actually always working on improving yourself, working on your body, making sure you stay healthy to do the things that you want to do. So
that's it.
that's really commendable. I'm pretty sure that's not average for everybody to do. That really just like speaks for from the beginning when you had that dream to do it, your drive, your mind, I want to do this, and nothing stands in your way, not even your own body.
Yeah, it becomes a way of life. You know what I mean? And there's certain things about the stuntman life that you have to eventually change later in your career, and there's other things that don't change. Like the constant. Honestly, I'll be honest, I don't train stunt specific stuff as much as I used to. You
Mm.
but I still do train those things periodically to try to maintain the sharpness in it. But it's also nowadays it's like the things that I mentioned, maintaining the mind, keeping the mind sharp, and the eye-hand coordination. Um, and so it's still, I feel like I'm always still learning, trying to learn other skills. I have a stunt car. I go take my stunt car out and practice skills.
I want one of those. I'm always like, where can I go? I like know the sheriff for my kung fu, and I was like, which parking lot? But then you need a car because the new cars all have those stupid buttons, like with the emergency, so you can't just like. I'm just like,
Yeah.
feel like I'm making excuses for myself though, but I'm just like, I just want the right car in the
Well,
right space.
what the pros do is they go buy a cheap, Crown Vic. You can get them for like 1,000, 3,000 bucks. And if you have the right people around you, they'll set it up so that you could, put an e-brake in it and whatnot, or
Mm.
or figure it out on your own,
That's what
and
ChatGPT said. I had to be really specific because it was telling me it sounds like I'm attempting to do something super dangerous. It's like, listen,
yeah.
this is why I'm asking.
No, it could be very dangerous, but that's why you have to practice with the right places, with the right people, you know. So it's yeah, I think only experience or the experienced people around you will help you stay safe in doing things like that. But there's a plethora of other things, If you can't drive, get to a driving class periodically, but go do scuba diving. It sounds random, but I've done plenty of water jobs that have gotten me paid because I was scuba certified. And I went all the way to like rescue diver certification. I'm not a gymnast, but I practiced basic gymnastics
Yeah.
as I was coming up in the industry. I got to the point where I could do a standing back tuck, and I've had to do flips on set. But also being able to do those types of flips helped with reactions.
Oh,
You know,
100%. Because I've never been like a gymnast, like in school, like all this stuff. So now I'm in my 30s and I'm learning all this stuff. So doing all the rolls, like doing a handstand, and like I was like going on a mini tramp, like all those things. So I was like, no way I'm ever gonna do these things. And now trying to learn the forms because on the wire, you need to be able to do a lot of it. And it can be so frustrating. But martial arts really has helped a lot. I mean, Kung Fu already a lot, but when I started doing jujitsu, I've learned that my working memory kind of also improved and the way to understand and grasp things. So even maybe I can't do it right away, but I understand the flow already and I know what to do and I can be in the moment more to learn it. So I feel like that for this year has been the biggest impact whenever I'm learning something new that really helped, paying attention to the little things and remembering some of it. So I do
Just
feel like it's big.
yeah, I would say just make sure you're training in things that will really help you achieve your goals on in film. You know what I mean? And if you're trying to be very stunt specific, there's one of the biggest thing, 90% of the work is fighting, film fighting, right? And so you can do different martial arts, but honestly, traditional martial arts are far different from film fighting.
Oh
When you
yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's why I started it though, because I was taking when I took my first class fighting for film, I was like, cool, all right, a couple of things. All right, this looks like a horse dance, but the rest I couldn't grasp the choreo and it was taking forever to get into it. So then I started doing jujitsu, and then I went for my next classes, and that went well. And then by the summer, when I went to LA, I went to 87 North and I was doing some fight choreo training there. And I was like, oh my God, I can do it. And then learning to do the choreo in reverse and stuff for film, the angles and the kind of throws. And so that it just helped me knowing how to do it. That also when you have to improv a little on it, what's more likely today in my 6 a.m. Class, he always likes to do arm bars. And he did it. I rolled out of that arm bar and he didn't see that coming. I was like, oh, that would be a cool move for film the way that he had me and I was rolling out of it. So to think in the martial arts way, but then also, yeah, taking the classes for how that translates onto TV. Because the biggest difference is a lot of times when I do some kung fu kicks, for example, then he's like, no, don't do it the kung fu way. When I go into the gym, just like straight and this way. And I was like, okay, my bad. So sometimes it is the sum of the habits.
But you definitely need more experienced film people around you that have done a lot of film fighting to get the true uh nature of it. Otherwise, you're going to be training in a lot of things and you're taking the long route versus the more direct route. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And I don't want to dog it, but today people, the fad, jujitsu is the fad,
yeah.
right? And there's a small group of stunt people that have like, oh, let's take jujitsu and make it famous. And they've done that. They now you see jujitsu in a lot of movies, right? But if you're going to spend every day of your life training jujitsu because you want to do it for film, then you got the wrong mindset, I think. You know what I mean? So because jujitsu is great, but it's also, think about this. It's also low impact. It can be low impact, right? And so that's why you have like 80-year-olds doing jujitsu. And so, and kids as well, right? Because it can be low impact if you want it to be, but it's not as difficult. Don't get me wrong, it is difficult, but not as difficult as like doing a Muay Thai style and tiring as some sort of fight scene like that. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, totally. Because there's one like I did like a judo for film as well, which was so interesting because then learning the story that kind of jujitsu came from a lot of from that before. So they're on the ground mainly, and that was interesting because it definitely way more impact on
Yeah.
the judo for
Yeah,
film.
because nowadays you got guys who aren't really traditionally martial artists, right? They're not martial artists. They didn't come up in martial arts in the film industry. They're not they know how to do film fights, but they're not straight up fight guys, right? So they're all doing jujitsu because their homies are doing it, but it's also I don't want to say the word easy, but at the same time, it is kind of just easy. You know what I mean? It's easier to do if you want it to be easier to do.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Because I'm now in 2 years into Kung Fu and it's still hard every time I do. It's still hard. Like, yeah, it's better than the day one and the first year or whatever, but that is freaking hard. And jujitsu has been what, like 5 months
But
consistent doing it. And I mean, just going through that because you're applying it, because you're actually rolling and doing the stuff,
yeah,
it feels like you're doing more.
yeah,
Yeah.
jujitsu is a great, I mean, it's a great system, but for a true self-defense system, it's a system you need to understand. But like, no, I mean, in real life self-defense, you need to know a variety of things, not just jujitsu, specifically a lot of stand-up stuff as well, and weapon stuff as well. But but for film fighting specifically, like people, you got people that will make you think all you got to do is jujitsu, man, because that's their thing, right? And then the 8711 guys and the John Wicks have made it famous because they're putting jujitsu in their fights. Yeah, it looks cool, but you know what, man? We're starting to see it everywhere now, and I think a good martial artist, film fight person will be able to adapt and pick up the choreo because they have enough experience with different systems where you can teach them that,
Yeah.
but you can't, it's really difficult to take a guy that's just a wrestler or just a jujitsu guy and teach him how to film fight standing up and look cool because those skills are different.
Yeah, when we have that, because part of the stunt gym at K75, where I train, that's like an hour out from where I live. Part of that is that we have a wrestling guy there too that comes in, and it's really difficult in that sense to do that. And faking the punches and taking the hits, making them look real because you're not actually getting hit. So a lot of that does take practice. And it's one of those things you also can't do by yourself. So that's why, yeah, going out for sure. It's
Yeah.
always super scary when it's like, okay, today is fighting for film training. I'm going to look like an ass half of the time. And then
Hey,
getting
you know
into it.
what? That's just the way it is. Like when I first started training for film fighting specifically, Hong Kong style, we would film ourselves like every night doing a fight scene. And I hated the way I looked. I don't even like watching myself today still, although I know I have obviously improved way better than I was back then, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm one of the best film fighters ever, you know what I mean? But I have the skills to get the job done, and I think people like the way I do my fights. Some maybe not. I have a certain aggression about mine that I like, but I would watch myself and I'm like, ugh, I don't like it. I
Oh,
don't
no, I
like
cringe so bad, but I notice if I don't watch it and somebody will tell me 3 times, like my leg or whatever, I'm like, I thought that's what I was doing, and then I see it. I was like, oh, don't even tell me again. I know already what I did. I seen it. I won't ever do it that way again. I can see it.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
does help a lot to film it. There's so many things that feel right, but when you look at it, like hunched over or
Yeah.
like
Oh, yeah.
kind of,
Yeah, it's the proof right there. Yeah, and that's the best way to learn. And that's all we would do. We would do fights 3 days a week, and practice. We'd have 2.5 hour practices, and it would just be film fighting, film fighting, film fighting. And then one day a week we would do other stunt related stuff, high falls and different types of falls and some basic tumbling and stuff like that. But we spent so much time dialing in the film fighting, film fighting, film fighting,
would you say
and
that is like, I know you said percentage wise, it seems like that's the most. I always thought, okay, fighting is cool for some of the people that are fighters. And I met some people at like networking events who are like, oh, they leave that to the people that are fighters. But there's so many times you just take a hit, you fall, you do other stuff. Is
yeah,
that utility wise not more than fighting that people book or
I
is
mean,
fighting?
okay, okay. The biggest, I would say, if we put it in order of importance, is number one probably being, let's say, not outside of mindset. You got to have the right mindset, right, to be a stunt person. But physical skill, reactions. You better know how to do reactions well. That's your bread and butter. Falling, taking hits on the ground, making the hits look really good. Reactions are extremely important, right? then it's the fighting. I mean, fighting is, if you are a fight person, you're probably going to work more often than the guys who are not, the specialists. But it all depends on your demographic. There's no clear answer, right?
Yeah.
You might not be a fight person, but you might have the right size and look to double one of the biggest actresses in the
Let's
world.
go.
You're going to be freaking working nonstop, possibly, right?
Look at the
Something like
sides. Look at them. Look.
yeah, yeah, you never know, right? So I can't tell people watching this like, oh, make sure your film fighting is on point. Well, yes, it should be on point, but is that going to get you jobs? No, not specifically, but it's the bread and butter. It's one of those things where if you are considered a professional stunt person, you need to be able to have good reactions and be able to do good fights, right? There are people that specialize that I just want to drive. Look, to me, they're taking the easy way out. They just because driving's easy. We all fucking drive every day, right? And even though stunt driving takes some skill, yes, you got to practice, but that's the easy way out. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I don't want to train in fights and blah blah blah. I just want to drive.
The
Okay.
fighting one really is the most intimidating one because there's like this trampoline park I go to work on my like tumbling stuff and make sure my rolls are okay. I film that. I can do all that by myself. They have a high fall. I can train my high falls there and stuff. But fighting is literally the one thing you have to go and do with people. And then also learning, I feel like not everybody's the same. Some people don't like contact, some little, some a little more, but they're then different heights and body types and things. So I agree. I don't, this, like I said, always the one where I'm like, oh, here we go. Here we go. But I know that's the one, just got to keep doing it.
Yeah, another important factor I think that people forget, aside from all the stunt skills, is literally you got to have the ability to act. Not that you got to be like a professional actor, because the craft is different than stunts, but I think there's too many stunt people that are like, oh no, I don't act. And yeah, no, not all of them act, but look, if you're a stunt person, you're gonna be in front of the camera. And at some point, you're going to be playing yourself and you're going to have to act, right? And so at a high level, you better be able to do it well, even if you're just acting with your emotions during a fight scene, right? Because the worst fight people are people that fight very monotone and there's no emotion. Like, come on, you're in a freaking fight, man. You got to get into it, get the juices flowing, get your face, get in there, get everything involved. You know what I mean? And you have to act within the fight, right?
Yeah. And there's, of course, stunt acting roles, like a lot of the,
Yeah.
like, I was seeing Chicago PD, Chicago Fire, all of those kind of
There's a lot
series
more.
where they're like,
There's a lot more of those today, and I don't consider myself an actor by trade, because there's actors that really spend a lot of time professionally going to classes and I don't do that. Am I afraid to act? Hell no. I'll go out there and act a fool, and be on camera and have fun with it. I'll do my best, and I've booked plenty of stunt acting roles. Could I have been better? Yeah, but I'm actually doing an acting job now, that where they needed a stunt person to drive, but actually I'm acting. I have dialogue with the main actors.
look at
So I have
you.
days doing that, so I have to work my acting chops. For me, it's more fun. It's more fun. You know what I mean? Back in the day, it was taboo. It still kind of is sometimes. Like you can ask a new stunt performer, "Hey, you want to be an actor? You want to do stunts?" And some of them will be like, "Oh, I want to act." And I'm like, "Oh, so you're trying to just get in by doing stunts?" But you see, the problem
Mm,
sometimes the focus is more on acting, and they don't become good quality stunt people, right? Because they're focused on being actors. Um, and then you have people that change later. They're great stunt people, and then over time they want to do more acting roles, right? That's cool. But at what point do you realize that, look, you're just not good, man? you
And
know?
that's so
I'm
true
not saying I'm
because
great, I'm saying,
you said there's only so many hours in the day, and I feel that hard. I have a day job still, and I have a son, so I'm like splitting myself in multiple parts. So sometimes I'm just like, oh my God, this is just like the wheel. I'm like training and doing all this stuff. So initially, like I said, I was doing voice acting, started stunts initially because I wanted to do mocap, PCAP for video games. But then I was like, oh man, this is a whole nother world that I didn't even think is something I would love as much as I do, but I'm trying to also go back into voice acting because I do still love that too. So I went to take my first class again after like half a year. I used to always consistently take it, and the guy was like, yeah, I can tell some of your enunciation is more like on camera, or you're trying to be that way. And I was like, man, that really sucks because all my training was in the voice department first. And then
yeah.
you train a lot in something else. Now you got to almost start over again. So it's really difficult to be everything, but you don't have to be the best in anything or everything. There's always people that are just okay in some stuff. And you still get by. But on that note, I have taken a good hour out of your day, and I know you got tons to do yourself, your business, and everything. So I am very appreciative and so cool that you jumped on super spontaneously today. So thank you so much for being on.
Yeah,
Stay
no,
put. Anything you would like to say before this episode ends?
no. Thanks for calling me and having me on your podcast. Hopefully, I mean, reach out if you have any other questions, but good luck to everyone out there. My opinion isn't the only way. There's several people that I'm sure you're going to interview that have different opinions on things, you
And
know.
that's the nice thing about it. Really different people, different markets, and different skills. So hopefully that'll take also some of the mystery out. So see you on the next episode.